The Young and the Restless. Nick Newman reached into his jacket pockets the other day to feel warm. He pulled out something surprising. No, it wasn't an old receipt or a $20 bill. Instead, Nick was surprised to find a clear, plastic little bag filled with some pills. Given that Nick is in deep pain from his surgery, we're going to guess that they're pain pills. But who put the dolls in Nick's jacket? Nick appeared genuinely confused when he pulled the little bag of pills out of his pocket. He looked like he'd never seen them before. On one hand, the pills, assuming they're powerful pain relievers, are the answer to Nick's dreams. On the other hand, we suspect that the person who put those pills in Nick's jacket does not have his best interests at heart. Our first guess is that the pills belong to Matt, as he was pushing fentanyl in Los Angeles. It'd be just up Matt's alley to try to get Nick hooked on pills. But the question remains, how and when did he put them in Nick's jacket? It's possible that Matt didn't plant the pills in Nick's pocket, knowing that he was this close to getting hooked on the junk. Maybe they fell into Nick's jacket during a struggle? Or perhaps, Matt has an emissary who hid the pills in Nick's jacket, hoping that he would find them and think that they're candy or something. We haven't seen date. Annie Stewart, since the Newman security team rescued Sienna. Perhaps she got away and has been doing Matt's bidding from the shadows. Speaking of Sienna, what if she's the one who planted the drugs in Nick's pocket, either intentionally or accidentally? What do we truly know about the woman with whom Noah has fallen? Perhaps she's still loyal to Matt and is hoping for a reunion? It's quite possible that the pills got into Nick's jacket entirely by accident. The question that remains is whether or not he will try them in an effort to alleviate his pain, or maybe they're breath mints. One thing's for certain, Morrow's been acting up a storm in this tale. He's been playing Victor and Nikki's son since 1994, but he's tackling this developing story with the enthusiasm of a newcomer. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching! So let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless scoop for Thursday, January 26, reveals Billy Abbott will take Kane Ashby up on his offer to run Chancellor. Also coming up, Victor Newman will be furious with Jack Abbott. Plus, Victoria Newman will confront Kane and Phyllis Summers, and Sharon Newman will be concerned about Nick Newman. Y&R spoilers tease, Phyllis will have no choice but to accept Kane's edict that he's giving Chancellor to Billy. He'll say all they need to do now is proceed with the takeover of Newman. Over my dead body, Victoria will tell them as she walks in. She'll say she called Lily Winters, asked her to put it on speakerphone so Maddie could also hear. Then she told her what Kane was up to. She was horrified, and Maddie, I could tell her heart was broken. Victoria will add that she also spoke to Charlie, and none of them want to speak to him again. Kudos on your big accomplishment, it's only cost you everything. Phyllis will tell Victoria she's delusional. Don't act like you're an upright citizen right now. Phyllis will say Victor's destroyed many people's lives. You think the Newman name gets you through life? You're as corrupt as he is. Victoria will tell them she's filed a report with the FTC. Kane will say he took his loss. The logical thing to do would be if she took hers. You think you can come in here and use Lily and my kids to affect me? He'll add. I don't care. Victoria will tell Kane he's not the same man she knew, and he's lost his soul. And you, Phyllis, she'll say. You do not deserve Nick, you never did. Meanwhile, Sharon will come downstairs, only to find Nick on the couch, grabbing his leg in pain. She'll tell him today is a new day. They don't have to worry about Matt Clark any longer. She'll say she's taking him back to the hospital. Nick will agree to it, but tell Sharon he wants to speak to Victor first. At the ranch, Victor will walk in to find Jack and Nikki embracing. What the hell is this? He'll say to Jack. Get your hands off my wife. Nikki will say Jack dropped by to support her. Get out, Victor will tell Jack. So, Nikki will say it would probably be best. Have the day you deserve, Victor, Jack will tell him as he leaves. He'll see Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson outside, and he'll glare at them. They'll head inside and tell Victor they published an op-ed article attacking Phyllis and Kane. We heavily imply they committed computer fraud, Adam will say. Victoria and Nick will eventually arrive. Nick will ask Victor what happened with Matt. "It's been taken care of," he'll reply. Then he'll put in a call to Jill Abbott. "Remember, I warned you that Kane Ashby has crossed the line," he'll say. "Well, he has, and we can't have that, so call me back." At Society, Diane Jenkins and Kyle Abbott will toast to Victor losing his empire. Jack will arrive and tell them Kane has offered Billy Chancellor Industries. "This is a mistake on so many levels," Diane will say. "I can't imagine how Sally's going to feel about it." Speaking of Sally Spectra, she and Billy will continue their boring argument about Chancellor. He'll say he understands that she's worried about him, but they'll be okay. "We can still build the life together that we want," Billy will add. He'll also say if he takes Kane's offer, she will become the sole CEO of Abbott Communications. Billy knows she's the one person who has his back, and he wants best for her. "This path you're going down upsets me," she'll reply. "Sally, I will tell Billy whatever he decides belongs to him. And my decision belongs to me." She'll leave and head to Crimson Lights. Then she'll think back to better times with Billy and leave a message, Audra Charles. Sally will tell her friend she's really worried and feels like she has a lot to lose. Finally, Billy will have a coffee at the Chancellor Park Cafe and will also reflect on conversations with Sally and with Jack. Then he'll head over to Kane's choo-choo train. "The answer is a resounding yes," Billy will tell Kane. When Phyllis pushes back, saying that they'll have to babysit him, Billy will ask Kane if they have a deal. "Or are you going to let her call the shots?" Keep reading The Soap Scoop for Young and The Restless Spoilers and News, and make sure to also join our Y&R Facebook group or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. The Young and the Restless Sienna had an interesting conversation with Victor on Monday's episode. Even though she admitted that she is in love with Noah, she confessed that she doesn't believe they could have a future together. Was that a foreshadowing that she is planning to break up with him? When Sienna snuck out of Sharon's house and visited Victor to warn him that Nick wanted to kill Matt, she made a huge admission to him about her relationship with Noah. She confessed that she's in love with Noah, but she doubts that they can have a real future together. She misses LA and feels like a stranger in Genoa City. Most of all, she feels responsible for the fact that Matt ran Noah off the road and ultimately put him in a coma. If she hadn't begun an extramarital affair with Noah, then Matt might never have targeted him. Sienna suspects that one day, Noah will resent her for all the pain that Matt brought into his life. Her relationship with Noah did not get off to a good start. She knows that's something that will always be hanging over them. Victor appreciated her honesty, and he even asked her to call him Victor after she called him Mr. Newman. Eric Braeden and Tamara Braun have good on-screen chemistry. Let's see them in more scenes together. Victor is used to dealing with high-class, wealthy women. Sienna is a different breed. She doesn't live the life of the GC socialites. She seems like someone who has led a hard-knock life, and she has an earthy edge that we don't see with the GC women. She's a scrapper, someone who had to fight for everything she's gotten in life. Victor can relate because he came from a poor background before he built Newman Enterprises from the ground up. He's been through plenty of hardships of his own. Even though Victor believes that it might be wise for Sienna to end her relationship with Noah after the Matt Clark nightmare is over, what if she decides not to wait until then? What if she decides to leave Noah unexpectedly in the middle of the night? The same way that she snuck out of Sharon's house to talk to Victor at the Newman Ranch, what if she leaves Noah without even a face-to-face breakup? What if she leaves him with nothing but a Dear John letter, saying goodbye and expressing her regrets on a piece of paper? Noah will be heartbroken, but then he might catch a plane to LA to try to win her back. We can picture the Young and the Restless writers going that route. After all, Matt kidnapped Noah and Sienna in LA and locked them in a storage room. When he finally confronted them, he tried to convince Noah to take fentanyl, or else he would kill Sienna. She feels guilty, knowing that Noah never would have had to endure all of that if she hadn't cheated on Matt with him. Will the guilt weigh her down so much that she will leave Noah high and dry? Tamara Braun is such a likable actress, and she is doing a great job in the role of Sienna on The Young and the Restless. It would be wonderful if Sienna decides to stay in Genoa City, even if she and Noah were to break up. She has ties with other GC residents, like Tessa and Holden. Even though Victor wiped out Matt's finances online by using the AI program, he left the shadow room for Sienna to run herself. Maybe she could sell it and use the money to open a new nightclub in GC. And let's face it, there are plenty of other men in town for her to date. When Sienna initially started on The Young and the Restless, many fans thought she was going to be paired with Nick. But would he get involved with a woman who was previously involved with his son? This is Nick Newman we're talking about, and he's been with more women than most of the other men on Y&R. Fathers and sons who have been involved with the same woman. That's a familiar trope in soaps. What do you all think, Y&R fans? Could you picture Nick dating Sienna at some point, if she decides to break up with Noah? The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, January 23rd, reveal that a Dominic Winters recast will debut as Mariah Copeland targets Devin Winters and Abby Winters' son. The role of Dominic was previously portrayed by Rain and River Ware, but Ethan Ray Clark will make his first appearance as Dom on Friday's show. It looks like Dominic will enjoy some family bonding time with his parents in the park, but trouble's just around the corner. Devin and Abby may get a bit distracted while Dominic's playing nearby. That could give Mariah a chance to lurk and spy on the little boy she gave birth to during the surrogacy storyline. Mariah obviously still has some sort of attachment to Bowie, aka Dominic, especially since those visions of Ian Ward have been manipulating her. Unfortunately, Dominic will get tangled up in Mariah's destiny since she's on the verge of making a bold move. Mariah will get a message that haunts her on Friday's Y&R episode. Ian may give Mariah the final nudge she needs to move forward with a Dominic kidnapping plot. Whether it happens now or in the coming episodes, Mariah will indeed scoop Dominic up at some point and drive off in a getaway car. Abby and Devin will face a total nightmare soon, thanks to Mariah snatching Dominic. So don't miss all the chaos ahead on the CBS soap. Over with Audra Charles and Holden Novak, they'll have a conversation with Amy Lewis. Holden and Audra will do their best to get rid of any lingering tension with Amy, so she may agree to a new beginning for them all. As for the Claire Newman situation, Audra and Holden will hope they've got that under control now. Of course, Claire won't give up so easily, so Holden and Audra's buried Los Angeles secrets will still be in jeopardy. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Claire will work hard for updates on what really happened, so she's sure to uncover some shocking news eventually. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Chelsea Lawson might propose to Adam Newman. Will Chelsea flip the script by popping the question herself? In Y&R's January 20th episode, Nikki Newman was curious about whether Chelsea and Adam had discussed taking the next step in their relationship. Chelsea acknowledged that although the topic had come up, marriage wasn't something they'd gotten serious about. In fact, Chelsea got a little nervous that time Adam Fake proposed to her at Society. Adam was just joking around, so Chelsea ultimately laughed it off in the end. However, Chelsea's conversation with Nikki made it seem like she's afraid of jinxing the good thing she's already got going with Adam. Now that Adam and Chelsea have reunited, they have a happy life together and have made a stable home for Connor Newman. Chelsea doesn't want to risk making waves, but she could change her mind about that soon enough. When Adam appeared following Chelsea's discussion with Nikki, Chelsea seemed tempted to bring up the marriage idea. Chelsea also reassured Adam when she realized he'd been worried she'd leave him over Newman's potential attack on Jabot. Deep down, Adam seems scared that everything he's rebuilt with Chelsea could slip away. But that's not how Chelsea wants him to feel at all. Adam may be too afraid of delivering a real marriage proposal if he fears Chelsea might reject the offer or run in the opposite direction. The last thing Adam wants to do is make Chelsea think he's rushing her into a step she's not ready for. That's why it might be a great opportunity for Chelsea to flip the script and propose to Adam instead. Chelsea might get inspired after her chat with Nikki and could potentially pick a very romantic moment for this proposal. With Valentine's Day just around the corner, that might be an excellent time for Chelsea to ask Adam to remarry her. It'd take the pressure off Adam and let him know that Chelsea's ready to go all in on their future again. Chelsea might decide she's done worrying and suggest marriage would just make their romance even better. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest wedding bells may be ahead for Adam and Chelsea at some point, so stick with us for updates on any engagement news. On the January 21st, 2026 episode of The Young and the Restless, Billy spiraled as everyone questioned his choices. Phyllis and Kane disagreed about their Newman takeover, and Victor caught Jack and Nikki in an intimate moment. Sally dropped by Kane's train and asked if he was obsessed with power. She was furious about the offer he made to Billy. Sally couldn't wrap her mind around the fact that Kane dangled this temptation in front of Billy. Kane encouraged Sally to have faith in Billy's ability to stay on the straight and narrow. Sally didn't believe that Kane cared about the progress that Billy had made, much of which was due to her ability to keep him in check. Kane claimed to be proud of the changes that Billy had made, so Sally asked why Kane would risk derailing that if it were true. Kane tried to lighten the mood and offered Sally a croissant. Sally had no interest in accepting anything from Kane, and her only concern was Billy. Sally and Kane clearly disagreed about what was best for Billy. Sally told Kane that the Billy he once knew was far different than the one he knew previously. Kane claimed that he tried to change for Lily and the kids, but there was no use trying to go against his nature. Sally said that Billy was nothing like him. However, Kane believed that Billy had changed his ways only for Sally's sake, and that the one thing he wanted most in his life was Chancellor. He thought that Sally was forcing Billy to be someone that he wasn't. Kane asked whether Sally would truly stand in the way of Billy getting what mattered most to him. Sally was sure that neither she nor anyone had a genuine chance of stopping Billy from pursuing this. However, Sally would at least attempt to dissuade him from doing something so destructive. Kane tried to get Sally to celebrate the downfall of Victor and Adam, but she took no pleasure from the pains of others. Sally warned Kane that there were other things at play in Billy's situation that he was currently unaware of. Kane asked what Sally meant. Kane brought up Jill, which gave an opening for Kane to ask about how she'd react to Kane's decisions. Kane realized that whoever invested in Abbott Communications must have a personal tie to Billy, and they wouldn't want him to fail. At the Abbott mansion, Billy told Jack that he had a lot on his mind. However, Jack told him to take a sigh of relief because Jabot was no longer under attack from Newman. Victor had much larger fish to fry, and for now, crushing Jack was the last thing on his mind. Billy said that Abbott Communications planned to keep its cybersecurity on high alert, and Jack believed that was the best course of action for Jabot as well. Billy wanted to tell Jack face-to-face about Kane's offer to help him regain control of Chancellor. Jack hoped that Billy wasn't serious, but when he realized he was, he accused Billy of returning to his previous obsession. Jack worried about the impact that this would have on Nikki. He accused his little brother of taking advantage of the situation to stick it to the Newmans even more. Naturally, Billy vehemently denied that this was the case. Billy told Jack that his assumptions were wrong and that he didn't facilitate the offer. Billy didn't appreciate being painted as the villain. He thought that his big brother made assumptions about his motives based on his past actions. Billy attested that he hadn't even accepted the offer, although Jack thought the outcome was a foregone conclusion. Jack felt like he was back on the merry-go-round of Billy's obsession, and everyone around them would become collateral damage. Billy told Jack that he'd be saving Chancellor by assuming control of it. The more Billy spoke, the clearer it had become to Jack that Billy's primary intention was to get back at Jill. Billy wished that Jack had been more supportive of his aspirations. Billy claimed to respect Jack's opinions, but Jack had grown tired of his brother ignoring his advice. Jack wasn't the least bit surprised to learn that Sally also had a negative reaction to Billy's news. Billy respected Sally's opinion about Kane's offer, but he hadn't made up his mind yet. Jack thought that if that were true, he'd have rejected Kane's offer the moment it was brought to his attention. Jack brought things back to Jill's betrayal, whether Billy wanted to admit it or not. Billy didn't think Nikki's connection to Catherine mattered in the equation. He wanted Chancellor, free and clear. Jack pleaded with Billy to dig deep and do the right thing for once. At Crimson Lights, Phyllis told Esther that she felt good about everything in her life for once. Esther asked if there was a man attached to newfound happiness. Phyllis claimed that there wasn't a man behind her positivity, and it was simply a case of life being on the upswing. Chelsea walked into Crimson Lights and caught the tail end of Phyllis's comment. She asked Phyllis whether she was proud of herself for thinking she had beaten Victor. However, Phyllis was. She was proud of the fact that she finally got one over on her nemesis. For the first time in a long time, Phyllis felt like a winner. Chelsea accused Phyllis of breaking the law by using the software against Victor. Phyllis encouraged Chelsea to look for a new job because Newman Media would soon be obsolete. In a half-hearted moment of pity, Phyllis offered to put in a good word with Summer at Marchetti. Chelsea thought that Phyllis' confidence would eventually turn into sloppiness. The sloppier she got, the more likely that she'd make a mistake that Victor could capitalize on. Phyllis assured Chelsea that Newman lost this time. Chelsea told Phyllis she was sorry for her, and Phyllis insisted she didn't feel too comfortable with the control. As Chelsea departed Crimson Lights, Daniel walked in and looked beyond disappointed with his mother. Daniel realized, based on the confrontation that he witnessed, that the rumors about Kane and Phyllis attacking Newman were accurate. She asked Daniel to back off and just be happy for her for once. Phyllis explained that this was the opportunity of a lifetime, so there was no chance she'd pass over it. Daniel questioned how she had obtained control of Newman, assuming there were illegalities involved. Daniel confirmed that Nick called Summer and filled her in about the attack on the Newmans. Phyllis grew sick of how Daniel and Summer treated her actions, so she laid it out for her son. She told him, "This is business. I deserve this. And if you and your sister cannot understand that, after everything that I have been through, I don't know what to say. You clearly don't love me and don't believe in me like I thought you did." Tessa appeared in the entranceway of Crimson Lights, seemingly having witnessed the entire showdown between Daniel and Phyllis. Daniel attested to Phyllis's ability to make his blood boil. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about his mother and her terrible life choices. Every time he ran into Phyllis, she was up to her neck in her next scheme, somehow worse than the one before it. Tessa didn't mind hearing about it, since that was what friends were there for. Daniel questioned if that's all they were. He wasn't sure if friends was the right label, so he asked for clarification. Tessa admitted that she was filing for divorce in sole custody, and Daniel helped her through all of it. With Mariah and Tessa getting divorced, she and Daniel were both ready to admit their feelings and embrace them. They agreed not to ignore how they felt, and they shared a kiss. Phyllis returned to the train and ranted about her heated arguments with Chelsea and Daniel. Kane said that must be the theme of the morning. He warned her that things would likely get worse from that point forward. Phyllis connected the dots about Sally coming in hot at Kane, and she realized that he offered something to Billy. Phyllis reminded Kane of a promise he had made to her to keep Billy away from their Newman takeover. Kane believed that offering Billy control of Chancellor wasn't against their plan, but Phyllis was appalled. Phyllis couldn't believe that Kane would consider this as an option. She felt as if Chancellor was a significant part of the Newman empire, and handing it over to Billy felt like a mistake. Phyllis also worried about the fallout from Jill. Kane thought that Jill would eventually come around to the idea of Billy controlling Chancellor. Phyllis pointed out all of Billy's previous failures, and she found it messy. Helping Billy was bound to backfire, and he refused to justify his decision any further. Kane claimed that his opinion was the only one that mattered. Billy and Sally both returned home, but she shut down his request to get something to eat. Sally asked if she would run Abbott Communications by herself, and she needed to know whether or not he planned to accept Kane's offer. Billy vowed to protect Chancellor at all costs, but Sally asked if that would destroy him. He acknowledged the trauma that he caused when he pursued revenge against Victor. Billy promised he had worked through his demons and could help the company thrive. Someone would run Chancellor after Kane ousted Nikki. Her removal from her position was inevitable, and Billy believed that he was the best for the job. Billy asked Sally why she couldn't support him and always expected the worst. Jack dropped by the ranch to visit Nikki, and she was grateful that Jack had handed Matt Clark over. They agreed that neither wanted to know any specifics about how Victor handled the madman. Jack switched gears and asked for an update on the attack on Newman. Nikki was under the impression that, for the first time, their family could lose everything. Nikki thought they had enough to rebuild. However, that didn't change the fact that they were losing large parts of the company, Chancellor included. Jack asked if there was any way he could help, but she didn't see how. Nikki was pleased that Jabot was safe for the time being, and as painful as it was for Nikki, Jack believed that this was karmic justice for Victor. Jack told Nikki that he was here for her, and as they shared a warm embrace, Jack revealed that Billy was offered the Chancellor position by Kane, and instead of supporting him, he thought Billy was his own worst enemy. Jack wished there was a way to prevent his brother from making the biggest mistake of his life. Nikki recalled the night that Jack saved her life in the hotel room. She didn't think she'd ever be able to repay his loyalty and friendship. As they shared a second hug, Victor walked through the door. If he needed a reminder of why he loathed Jack Abbott, that was it. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Thursday, January 22 put Victor and Victoria on the hunt. Victor continues his childish vendetta against Jack, while Victoria has new insults for Kane. Victor stands to lose everything he's built since he was that poor, sad, pitiful orphan whose mommy and daddy didn't love him, which means he's always in the right now. And Victor is blaming Jack for it, the same way he blames Jack for all things outside of Victor's control. It's really a compliment when you think about it, how powerful Victor thinks Jack is. Victor thinks that by mumbling more threats in Jack's direction, he'll make something happen. It won't. But it will make Victor feel better. Until next time, the real person to blame is Kane. Victoria can't figure out how to stop his computer program from devouring them, so she takes a page from Victor's book and just goes to taunt him. Victoria knows that Kane isn't afraid of her daddy, so she decides to taunt him about what a rotten daddy he has been to Maddie and Charlie. His kids don't love him, and if his kids don't love him, then their mommy will never love him. Ha ha ha! Lily dumped Kane. Now give the Newmans their company back. Yeah, that's the extent of Victoria's plan. Nick hobbled out of his hospital bed in order to convince Jack to hand Matt over to the Newmans by playing on Jack's guilt and decency, a trick he knows he could never try with his father. Then Nick brought Matt over to the ranch so Victor, Noah, Sienna, and Sharon could chastise him, and Matt could snark back. But Nick raised his health to pull all that off, and now Sharon worries he's gone too far. On The Young and the Restless, January 21st, Billy reiterated to Jack what he previously told Sally. He's not taking Kane up on his offer of Chancellor Communications, but he knows he wants it. So why is he lying to himself? Kane offered Billy control of Chancellor Communications. Billy spoke to his brother about it, but he hasn't made any moves, even though he wants it. He wants to prove to Sally and his family that he doesn't want to get his hands on Chancellor. He's been using this script on Jack. Billy told Jack that he didn't engineer the offer, but he has teased the idea. He believes he could save Chancellor from the AI software. He would like to protect it from one of GC's legacy companies. However, Jack is skeptical, while Billy is annoyed with him. Jack noted that if Billy didn't want to take over the company, he would have already told Kane no. Later in Tuesday's episode, Billy brought up the idea to Sally. He said that he doesn't have his old demons anymore, all thanks to her. To Billy, Chancellor is more than a business. He could protect what Catherine left behind, which means a lot to him. He wants to continue protecting and building that legacy. He asks Sally why she wouldn't want him to have that. Now, Billy is lying to himself about not wanting Kane's offer to run a portion of Chancellor. He told Sally and Jack that he's committed to building Abbott Communications independently. However, Billy is struggling with the truth. He spent years trying to prove that he's the rightful heir to the Chancellor legacy. Despite claiming he wanted to build something new, Billy wanted to reclaim the Chancellor name, especially after Victor wrestled it out of his control. Sally and Victoria have noticed a gambler's look in Billy's eyes lately. He's not just looking for a new company. He's looking for a way to strike back at Victor, his other obsession. Accepting Kane's offer to take another swipe at the Newmans while they're doing so, claiming that it's just a business decision. Everyone knows that Billy thrives on chaos and high stakes. While he loves the stability he has with Sally, his history shows he has a penchant for shiny things. Billy's likely lying to himself about being satisfied with a startup when a corporate war with the Chancellor Empire is sitting in front of them. The Young and the Restless star Cameron Grimes joined the 2016 viral trend of sharing photos from 10 years ago. One of the photos showed her kissing her former co-star Hunter King at the Daytime Emmys. Fans buzzed about the possibility of Sumia getting together now that Taraya is over. Over the long weekend, Grimes took to Instagram to post a content dump of her 2016. Most of the photos and videos showed her filming Y&R, Animal Kingdom, and having some much-needed fun. Grimes spent much of her free time in the great outdoors. She also included clips of her dancing at a club and sharing a bottle of alcohol with one of her good friends as they contemplated their lives. At first, Grimes admitted, "I'm not totally sure why we're doing this 2016 trend, but I'll bite." Still, Grimes reflected back on that year. She went through a lot, as evidenced by the content she shared. Even though it wasn't a perfect year, she still wants to hold on to those memories. She continued, "Some friends are still around, some aren't. I traveled a bunch. It was the last year I was in a truly toxic relationship, but I still managed to laugh a whole lot. Looking back is kind of nice, reminds me that everything is temporary and fleeting, and to enjoy it all while it lasts." However, one photo stopped fans dead in their tracks. Grimes smooched her former co-star King at the Daytime Emmys. King played Summer Newman from 2012 to 2022. Y&R fans are already mourning the end of Mariah and Tessa's divorce. But they have a new ship to look forward to. There are rumors that Summer could return to Genoa City. Will Sumia become the hot new couple? One fan wrote, "Mariah and Summer ending up together would be the ultimate plot twist." Someone else responded, "Samaya, endgame." Though Summer and Mariah share the same name, they are not blood relatives. This allows them the opportunity to explore a relationship, if the soap ever heads in that direction. But Summer and Mariah often clash because of their different backgrounds. Meanwhile, other fans are excited to see Grimes posting again. She's been enjoying her honeymoon after marrying her husband, Brock Powell. The couple threw a moody, funky wedding in New Orleans. Young and the Restless spoilers for Jan 26-30, 2026. Anticipate Sally Spectra exploding and Sharon Newman panicking. As we always do on Early Edition Day, we start with what's coming this week. Then we'll dive into next week. On Wednesday, January 21st, we've got Sally Spectra over at the Dominic Kane train, and she is ranting about him luring Billy Abbott in by offering him Chancellor. Dominic Kane's advice is that Sally should trust Billy, but Sally Spectra doesn't believe it when Dominic says he cares about Billy Abbott and is proud of his progress. He actually credits Sally. Dominic also says Sally Spectra shouldn't make Billy choose between her and Chancellor. Then Dominic Kane asks, doesn't Sally want payback on Adam Newman for the way he treated her? He suggests this stuff with Newman Enterprises is karma. Sally thinks it's all going to blow up in Billy Abbott's face and wants Dominic to leave Billy alone. Sally Spectra asks him to retract the Chancellor offer. Meanwhile, Jack Abbott tells Billy Abbott, yes, it's confirmed. Dominic Kane and Phyllis Summers have attacked Newman Enterprises with the AI. Of course, Billy knows it. He says Dominic offered him Chancellor. Jack Abbott thinks that Billy is backsliding into obsession and revenge, but Billy Abbott denies it. Jack says he is also worried about Nikki Newman. Billy says, look, she's going to lose Chancellor either way, either to the AI or to me taking it over. Jack Abbott's mad. He's ranting, calling Billy Abbott selfish. Billy's trying to justify it, saying, if he takes Chancellor, at least the AI won't destroy it. It won't destroy Catherine Chancellor's legacy. Jack assumes Billy's definitely taking Dominic Kane's offer, and he thinks part of the reason is for payback on Jill Abbott. But Billy Abbott says Dominic is trying to atone for the past. Jack Abbott asks Billy not to do it, but of course, he's not going to listen. Chelsea Lawson Newman lectures Phyllis Summers at Crimson Lights about the mess she's made. Then conwoman Chelsea is dropping Bible verses on Phyllis, which is kind of ironic. Chelsea Lawson Newman is quite sure Phyllis is going to get sloppy, make a mistake, and is going to go down. Phyllis Summers tells Chelsea she's proud of beating Victor Newman. Chelsea promises revenge. There are more arguments. Phyllis Summers says Summer Newman's going to be fine, and Chelsea Lawson Newman should be glad that Victor Newman has been slapped by karma. Ironically, Chelsea says this only happened because Phyllis cheated. Again, that is coming from the con woman. Chelsea Lawson Newman goes, and Daniel Romalotti comes in. immediately confronting his mom about the attack on Newman Enterprises. Phyllis Summers tells Daniel to back down, but he won't. Phyllis also insists Victor Newman had it coming. She recounts a little laundry list of things that he's done to her, but she left out the Marco Aniscelli incident, which to me was the very worst. Putting a stranger into your bed that looks like your husband, that's sexual assault. There's nothing else for it. Phyllis Summers says Daniel Romalotti doesn't really love her because of the way he's talking to her, and she makes a dramatic exit. Phyllis Summers heads to see Damian Kane, and she's complaining about Chelsea Lawson Newman and Daniel Romalotti coming at her. Damian says, "Things are going to get worse. This is going to continue." Phyllis wants to know when Newman Enterprises is going to be totally theirs. Damian Kane tells her that Sally Spectra showed up to read him the riot act because he offered Chancellor to Billy Abbott. Phyllis Summers doesn't like that he made the offer, but Damian Kane says Billy is his brother and deserves Chancellor. When Phyllis goes on about it being a bad move, Damian says, "Look, the decision's mine, not yours." Now, when Phyllis Summers hears things like that, she usually goes berserk and betrays people. So we'll see. Sally Spectra grills Billy Abbott back at home and wants to know if he's going to take Damian Kane's offer. But before he can even answer, she's ranting. Billy Abbott insists he's not revenge-obsessed. He wants to protect Catherine Chancellor's legacy, but Sally thinks taking Chancellor again will destroy Billy. She thinks Damian Kane has some kind of agenda and really doesn't have Billy Abbott's best interest in mind. Tessa Porter shows up and finds Daniel Romalotti moody and distant after his confrontation with his mom. He tells Tessa that Phyllis Summers is doing all these bad things. Then he says Tessa Porter's problems are more important. She says she's going to file for divorce and seek sole custody. Then she and Daniel Romalotti talk about their connection that neither can deny, and they're back to kissing. Jack Abbott goes to see Nikki Newman. He's worried about all the stress. She says that Matt's been taken care of, but she has no idea of the details of what Victor Newman did. Nikki says that Victoria Newman managed to save some of their assets, but things look bad. Jack Abbott says, "At least you can rebuild." But Nikki Newman is quite distraught that she's lost Chancellor. And Jack thinks Victor Newman deserved to be slapped by karma, but he doesn't think the rest of the family deserved it. Jack Abbott tells her that Damian Kane offered Chancellor to Billy Abbott, which completely shocks Nikki Newman. They agree that Jill Abbott wouldn't like this. Nikki thanks Jack for saving her during that sobriety spiral at the GCAC that night a couple of years ago. Then Victor Newman walks in and glares because that's the moment that they are hugging as friends. On Thursday, January 22nd, Damian Kane tells Phyllis Summers that Newman Enterprises is pretty much theirs. They just need to step in and take control. But Victoria Newman shows up and says, "Over my dead body." She's going to hit Damian Kane with a low blow to try and stop him in his tracks. Sharon Newman is increasingly concerned about Nick Newman. His pain is worse. He's taking his last prescription pill. He's got fentanyl in his pocket, and he's got some rage issues. Obviously, he is in legit pain, but also he may be dealing with the pain of withdrawal because of the opioids he's been eating, like Mentos. Victor Newman confronts and lays into Jack Abbott after he sees Nikki Newman and Jack sharing an innocent hug. Victor's going to blow it all out of proportion, and he warns Jack Abbott to back off his wife. Friday, January 23rd, Holden Novak and Audra Charles go see Amy Lewis. They're hoping to make amends. I'm sure it's about Audra and Nate Hastings' breakup over that dirty deal she did with Victor Newman, and also about Damian Kane's murder. Mariah Copeland gets a message that's haunting. I'm sure it's going to be Ian Ward, related or Ian adjacent, or a hallucination. I want the real Ian back. Abby Newman and Devin Hamilton have some trouble, and this is going to cross over with a storyline with Tessa Porter, Mariah Copeland, and Daniel Romalotti. By the way, Detective Burrow is going to be joining the GCPD. We're finally getting another cop in Genoa City. We're going to be seeing more of Matt Cohen's character. When he first signed on for Young and the Restless, it looks like he had ruptured his Achilles tendon for the second time and had to have surgery. He had mobility issues where he was wheelchair-bound, and now he's up, recovered, and walking better. So, we will be seeing a lot more of him. He's such a cutie, and such a talented actor, the week of January 26th through the 30th marks the kickoff of sweeps on Thursday, January 29th, and it runs through February 25th. Big stuff is ahead, and the pace is going to pick up. We're owed some closure on the Matt issue. Last we saw, Victor Newman was heading into a room where he had Matt. I don't think he's killed him. Remember, Victor was going to keep Jordan Howard in that cell for the rest of her life eating Brussels sprouts? I suspect he may be keeping Matt to torment him. That's kind of a Victor thing to do. Michael Baldwin has a hard time seeing Victor Newman's empire crumble, while others are so thrilled about it. Jack Abbott is on edge about what Phyllis Summers, Damian Kane, and Billy Abbott's next moves are because he wants to protect Jabot. Billy's desperation to get his hands on Chancellor could cost him Sally Spectra, and also maybe Jack. Sienna plans to return to LA after Matt is dealt with. We know Noah Newman is going to be hurt, but Audra Charles is waiting in the wings. Nick Newman gets further off the rails and may turn to fentanyl or other dodgy drug sources to manage his pain and his withdrawal symptoms. Plus, things get worse for Mariah Copeland as Ian Ward's influence from the great beyond pulls her further away from Tessa Porter and their family, while Daniel Romalotti and Tessa keep getting in deeper. The young and the restless fans are accustomed to seeing Victor always win. However, the Newman Enterprises CEO is now facing a big downfall, and he's not getting much sympathy from anyone. Out of all of Genoa City's business executives, Victor reigns supreme. Many people, including Jack and Lily, have went up against the mustache, but come out on the losing end. Throughout the years, Victor's scored one win after another in his numerous business wars. However, this time around, he's facing a big loss. Victor's quest for power had him stealing Kane's AI software, courtesy of Phyllis. He initially intended to use the program to take control of Jabot, but his plans fell through. Unfortunately, Victor's acquisition of the AI software would come back to bite him. As it turns out, Kane had a secret bug in the software that attacked whoever was in charge of it. Since Victor initiated the software on Matt Clark, it left him vulnerable to an attack. Now, Phyllis and Kane are plotting their takeover of Newman Enterprises, while Victor is in danger of losing everything. Victor possibly losing his company to Phyllis and Kane is all the buzz on Reddit. Many fans are celebrating the downfall of the great Victor Newman. Nobody, and I mean nobody, deserves it more than Victor. Victor has done so many evil things. He's a narcissist and only cares about ruining other people's lives, wrote one viewer. However, one fan actually feels sorry for the mustache. Yes, Victor went too far with the AI, but Kane and Phyllis are in the wrong for using the AI against Newman Enterprises. I respect that Victor built his company from nothing, and that is to be admired. To have him lose his company not by mismanagement, but by a flimsy AI is wrong. Things aren't looking good for Victor, but as Y&R fans know, one can't count the Newman patriarch out. Victor always has a trick up his sleeve, and odds are he's not letting Phyllis and Kane get away with this so easily. Perhaps the mustache is biding his time, waiting for Phyllis and Kane to turn against each other. Or maybe he'll be making a secret deal with one of them in exchange for the return of Newman Enterprises. Whatever's in store, chances are Victor will be back on top and back at Newman Enterprises in no time. Phyllis and Kane better enjoy their reign while it lasts.